The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning, everyone. It is 5 a.m. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher. We are covering the ongoing Sierra snowmelt, which could speed up with that heat wave. For weeks now, we've been telling you about the surging flow of the swollen Kern River. Well, get ready for an old and familiar sight, an empty riverbed, or something close to it. 17's Robert Price explains why.
Here's an irony for you. The Kern River is as deep, wide, and swift as it has been in years. And yet, some in Bakersfield are being asked to cut way back on their usage for a day or two. Why? Because overabundance can be a challenge too. Just ask the Army Corps of Engineers, which maintains the Isabella Lake Dam. At about 1 a.m. Tuesday morning, the Army Corps will shut off flow from Isabella Lake into the Kern River in order to perform roughly 8 hours of maintenance on the dam's outflow conduit. Maintenance the Army Corps is characterizing as routine. It's all in the name of keeping the dam running at optimal efficiency during this unusually high volume year, with the risk of flooding, though lessened by the unseasonably cool summer, still a possibility. Mark Mulcahy is the Kern County Water Master.
The Corps needs to get in there and take a look at the tunnel that goes through the dam. They're hearing some cavitation and some other things. They just want to get in and make sure that everything is okay inside. If there's any minor fixes and maintenance they can do in an hour or two, they'll do it. If not, if there's major damage occurring, they'll take pictures, they'll get it mapped out, and then they'll figure out in the long run how to fix it.
Cavitation occurs when tiny bubbles caused by changes in pressure inside the dam's workings can begin to erode the components. One of the byproducts of cavitation is vibration, which the Army Corps would like to avoid. Water agencies are asking water users in northeast and northwest Bakersfield to limit their water usage to only the most necessary purposes. No need to eliminate your morning shower and flush as usual. But don't water your lawn or wash your car for about 24 to 48 hours Tuesday into Wednesday. Yvonne Kingman with California Water Service explains why northwest and northeast Bakersfield are most affected.
We have stored water actually throughout our system because we'll put it in storage tanks after it's been treated and tested. But in these parts of town, we rely more on surface water than groundwater to serve our customers.
The city of Bakersfield, however, is asking all of its customers citywide to conserve during this period. The water flow will be turned off very gradually over a period of about 6 hours, according to the Army Corps. The inspection will take up to 8 hours once the flow has stopped completely. Then it will be slowly brought back to a flow of 5,300 cubic feet per second, and reservoir storage will increase by 8,000 acre feet. The whole process should take less than 24 hours. It bears noting that the shutoff, whether the lower Kern empties completely or just drops significantly, does pose a danger. Stay out of the Kern even when it empties, because an unexpected surge could send a sudden powerful wave coursing through the channel. The Kern River, it seems, never rests, even when it appears to be slumbering. In Bakersfield, Robert Price, 17 News.
Meantime, the city of Bakersfield says spray parks will be closed today and tomorrow. The Parks and Recreation Department says it's cutting its water usage off for 3 days, which also includes stopping all overnight irrigation. The city asks residents to also conserve water during this time, reminding folks that there are still mandatory restrictions in place for the city's domestic water system customers, which includes no outdoor watering on Mondays.
And this water flow reduction comes after 2 people were rescued from the Kern River at Hart Park. Now, you may remember this story. It happened early Friday evening near River and Bison Roads. But in this new drone video, a man and a boy hanging onto tree branches to stay afloat. Crews spent about an hour trying to get the 2 out of the water. They used a boat to bring the pair to dry land. Officials are continuing to urge everyone to stay out of the Kern River.
Wow, you can just see how swift the currents are there. All right, your time 5:06. Turning now to a traffic alert. A portion of State Route 55 is going to be closed for the next 2 weeks. Take a look at this photo. You can see part of the road has been broken off. That's State Route 155, I should say. Again, part of the road has been broken off. And actually just rolled down the embankment there. This is between Glenville and Wofford Heights. The road will be closed in both directions as crews make repairs. Not only are they repaving the road, but they're also tearing apart and rebuilding the embankment.
Meantime, all northbound lanes on Highway 99 are back open through the heart of Bakersfield. Here's video of crews working on the road. The closure is between Ming Avenue and Highway 58 interchange. The road work will continue tomorrow and then again on Thursday, and those closures start at 9 p.m. They last through 5 a.m. Also, the southbound off-ramp for Ming Avenue will also be closed during this time.
Now to a follow-up to a story we first brought you yesterday on Sunrise. We first reported that there was a deadly crash on Interstate 5 through the Grapevine, and we're now learning a pedestrian and driver were both killed in that crash. It happened late Sunday night in Lebec. The driver was 82 years old. He was heading south before he crashed, hitting that pedestrian, and the car went plunging down a 50-foot embankment. By our count now, 33 pedestrians have been hit and killed on Kern County roads so far this year.
Russian President Vladimir Putin is speaking about the rebellion that took place over the weekend. Putin calling those behind the armed revolt traitors. Here's NBC's Bree Jackson with the latest.
Blasting the rebels as traitors, Russian President Vladimir Putin addressed his nation about the short-lived Wagner Group rebellion over the weekend.
This is criminal activity which is aimed at weakening the country.
But in the next breath, Putin also thanking those same fighters who marched towards Moscow before stopping short.
I should like to thank those commanders and soldiers of the Wagner private company who took the right decision to stop and go back and prevent bloodshed.
Meanwhile, a defiant Yevgeny Prigozhin denied trying to topple Putin, saying he only wanted to protect his fighters. But the mercenary leader's actions raise new questions about Putin's leadership amid the war in Ukraine.
Prigozhin still presents, I think, a pretty serious challenge to Putin's rule and his control.
He basically said it was all a sham. Putin's pretenses for going into Ukraine, there was never any threat from the Ukrainians. I hope that message got out.
President Biden insists that the West was not involved in this weekend's events and is assessing the fallout.
I will keep making sure that our allies and our partners are closely aligned in how we are reading and responding to the situation.
A situation that's posed the biggest challenge to Putin's rule in more than 20 years. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says that the rebellion creates another problem for Putin, but it is to Ukraine's advantage as Ukrainian forces continue with their counteroffensive. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
And an infamous and convicted rapist who served 3 decades in prison for crimes committed in Sacramento has now been arrested here in Bakersfield. 71-year-old Ronald Feldmeyer is being accused of kidnapping a woman. He became known as the pillowcase rapist for using pillowcases to stifle his victims' screams during sexual assaults committed in the 1980s. Feldmeyer moved to Bakersfield after being released from prison back in 2019. Bakersfield police say he was arrested after a woman he was driving with became concerned for her safety and repeatedly asked him to stop the car and let her out. Feldmeyer allegedly refused, so the woman jumped out of the moving car. He is being held on $100,000 bail and is scheduled for arraignment tomorrow.
A man accused of exposing himself to 2 teenage girls has pleaded not guilty. John Searles appeared in court yesterday. His bail was denied. Court records show that Searles is a registered sex offender with prior convictions for indecent exposure. Police say this is a picture of him in the middle of the act last week. It happened in Northwest Bakersfield on Jewetta Avenue.
In education news this morning, the first woman to lead California State University Bakersfield, President Lynette Zelezny, says she is retiring at the end of the year. Dr. Zelezny has led the university for the last 5.5 years. During her time, she guided CSUB through the COVID-19 pandemic, which was, of course, a challenge for students and educators. Dr. Zelezny has served her entire professional career, nearly 40 years, with the CSU system. She says, quote, "It has been the honor of my career to serve the families of this community and to join hands as we work, dream, and strive together for a brighter tomorrow." Dr. Zelezny will join us live this morning here on Sunrise to talk about her time with the university. That's coming up this morning at 6:30.
Also in education news, Arvin High School will name its library for a longtime educator who was killed in a crash earlier this year. Larry Helen spent 40 years at Arvin High teaching economics and coaching sports, as well as coaching students through the We the People competition. Last night, Kern High School District trustees approved a petition to rename the school library in his honor, something those who knew him say he certainly deserves.
I had him 39 years ago as a teacher, and every time I saw him, he still remembered my name, he still remembered what I did at the high school, and he did that with every alum that I saw. That's just amazing. He made us all feel very special, even long after we left his classroom.
Helen was killed earlier this year when a suspected drunk driver ran a red light and slammed into his car.
From our 17th follow-up file this morning, 7 months after a Kern County grand jury reported safety and security issues at the Plaza Towers, residents finally received some good news. They're being moved to a new facility, although it is not immediate. 17's Cecilia Trevino has more.
I've been here 7 years too long.
From some years to decades, some residents of the Plaza Towers and the Plaza Towers Annex say receiving the news they are moving is something they were waiting for. The Housing Authority of the County of Kern gave tenants a notice it is moving tenants out in around 2.5 to 3 years. Some tenants say this is not soon enough.
These buildings are old, especially this one here, and there's been leaks for all these years. No telling if this cement got moist again and it might be able to collapse like over there in Florida.
Michael Candelaria says from roaches to drainage issues and even homeless people camping in the property, he has seen a handful of problems in the buildings over the past 7 years. Shirley Marcet agrees it is time to move to a place with better accommodations.
Now, especially with my legs and stuff, I have to throw my leg over into the tub in order to get in. But they have the safety bars and handicap bars, but that's good. But it's not like having a shower.
The Housing Authority says it is in the beginning stages of building replacement housing and anticipate the process to take 2 years. However, the timeline is still up in the air. As for the tenants, boxes and moving will come at no cost.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.